The International Association for Near-Death Studies presents NDE Radio, a weekly exploration of near-death experiences and similar encounters with the other side. Now, here's your host, Lee Witting.
Why is it that some folks have a near-death experience that will change their lives immediately, while for others, even an NDE is not enough to change their rowdy ways? Welcome to NDE Radio, brought to you by IANS, the International Association for Near-Death Studies. I'm your host, Lee Witting. Our guest today is Paul Espinoza, a near-death experiencer and the recovering victim of car wrecks which could have cost him his life. An accidental drug overdose when he was 15 years old gave Paul Espinoza the gift of an NDE. Still, he did not change his dangerous lifestyle until two terrible car accidents forced his hand, and he found himself writing spiritual songs and poetry he thinks he may be receiving from his Native American great-grandmother and her son, Paul's beloved grandfather, both of whom wrote similar verse when they were still alive. Paul, welcome to NDE Radio.
Hello, Lee. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Paul, perhaps we could begin by your telling us the circumstances of your near-death experience.
Well, my first near-death experience is when I was 15 years old. I come from a very religious family, but I chose to go down a different path. And the first one that I went down, I didn't intend to overdose on the drugs when I overdosed, but I did. And when it did happen, I was like 15 years old, and I actually took 6 Quaaludes and a bottle of Everclear, not knowing that those Quaaludes were going to do that. And I actually took them a day before I drank the bottle of Everclear. But when it happened, I actually overdosed. I flatlined, and I was taken to the hospital. When I was at the hospital, they were pumping my stomach, not knowing that I had the pills that were in me. Thought I just was on the alcohol. Finally, afterwards, my sister-in-law, who had taken me to the hospital, because she was there with me when I had the experience. I have a letter with me that she had wrote me. And this was in '82. And when they took me to the hospital, actually, they from what her story is like this is from what I've been told and everything. I can just tell you everything that happened before the accident and then after the accident. But during this accident, when I overdosed, I was declared dead. They told my mother that I was not going to come back. I flatlined. So I flatlined, and they brought me back. When they did bring me back, they told my mother I was brain dead, that I would be brain dead probably for the rest of my life because of the fact that I had been out for a little while. Well, when I was out, that's when I actually saw the vision that I saw, and it was unexplainable because it was a white figure. It was a big bright light, and this bright light came to me when I woke up, and I was like, wow, did I really make it? Did I really make it? And this person told me, no, it's not your time. And I went back down. Well, 2 days later, I finally woken back up, and then that's when I come through, and I started living my life, and I started telling the doctors what I saw. Well, when I was telling the doctors what I saw, they were looking at me like I was crazy, like you couldn't have seen that, it was just probably us or whatever, and I was sure of what I saw. Well, all that
now,
time,
when you were over there, was it a figure? Like when you said a figure, did it seem to be like a person?
Yes, because it was like I woke up, and it was like I was in a big bright area. I was, I couldn't see myself, of course, but I could see what was there, and what was there was just big. It was all white. It was just bright light.
Okay, so you didn't travel down a tunnel or feel like you were moving anywhere. You were just suddenly there.
Yeah, I was like, son, yes, sir. I was just suddenly there, and then I was able to, like I said, I was able to move around, walk. I guess you can say I was walking because I was trying. I couldn't believe where I was at. It was just bright and beautiful. It was just beautiful. The light was beautiful.
Mm.
And
did you have a sense of love and?
Oh yes, yes. Oh yes. It's like I knew I was in heaven because I even asked, did I really make it? When I asked this only because at first when I didn't know where I was at first. And
yes.
Then when I saw this figure coming towards me, and I couldn't see, his face, or I couldn't see anything about it. I just saw, you could just see like a figure coming through the light. It was like part of the light. It was just part of the light.
Mm.
And when he came towards me, I looked at him because it was a male voice. I looked at him and I asked, I said, did I really make it? Did I really make it? And he actually said, no, it's not your time. He doesn't want you now. And I went out. And I went back out.
So it was like, it was not, if he doesn't want you now implies that God doesn't want you yet.
I believe, I get that now. I didn't get it then. Uh-huh. I get it now. I've gotten it now. It took me a couple more times to get it. And that first time it was hard. It was hard for me to believe it because, like I said, again, when I was awoken, when I came out of it, they were telling me what happened to me and everything. Mm-hmm. I was like, what? I didn't mean to do that. And they were like, yeah, you tried to kill yourself. And I was like, no, I didn't. I just took these things. I didn't know what I was doing. Well, yeah, you had this in your stomach and you had that. And I said, well, those pills I took a couple of, like on Friday when I drank was on Saturday. I wasn't trying to do nothing like that. I didn't mean to try. I wasn't trying to kill myself. I wouldn't want to kill myself. And then I told them, because they made me go to counseling. And I told them that, what I saw. And they're like, no, you couldn't have saw that. You no way. So
did the doctors persuade you that you hadn't seen it, or did you know for sure that you had?
They persuaded me so much they put me on pills.
Yeah.
Yeah. They try to make it to where, no, you didn't see what you saw. So
now, do you think because they did that you weren't as affected by it and you didn't straighten out your life right away?
I believe it had a lot to do with it. Yes, I believe it had a lot to do with it. Because even then I changed my life. When that happened to me, I changed. Mm-hmm. I changed. I was doing the right thing for a couple of years, but when they had me, and actually after that happened, I actually started writing back then, Lee. I actually started writing right after that. I never was a poet. I was a little kid that was hell raising, 15 years, just not. And then afterwards, I started writing poetry. And actually that's when I started writing the first time. And I didn't believe also that was like, I couldn't believe that this was coming out of me. I was like, no, this ain't me. So,
so
like I said,
you were still a teenager when you started writing.
Correct. I was correct. Oh. I even have old books back and dated in '82 that I have that has a date on there that when I started writing, it tells you about my life, how I lived, and everything, right. Because I was writing back then. And so, like I said, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so really, even though you came back, you had a connection, you had a link, you think, with this poetry flowing from that side to you.
Yes, not knowing it until now. Not knowing it until now, but because I was all like, where is this coming from? Like, wow, I never did this. This is not me. I don't write this kind of stuff. And then, like I said, then the doctors, I was seeing the doctors, and they were like, you need to take this. You're just having issues and this and that. And I was like, dude, I can tell you what I saw. No, you couldn't have saw that. It was probably us when we were resuscitating you. There is bright lights there and everything when we're trying to resuscitate you. And I said, so then you guys told, I told them what, so then somebody told me that it wasn't my time. He didn't want me now. Could have been. And, so, I didn't believe. A couple of years went by of taking those pills. Then I started, I was like, man, this is not me. I don't want to do this, So, I actually had my first blessing, which I should have listened then, and which was my daughter. I had a daughter at a young age, but things happened between my ex and me, and things I just went down another totally bad path again. And when I went down that bad path, I was just doing things horrible again. And that's when I had my second, I guess you can say, wreck. I had accident, because it was a wreck where I went from one side of I-10 to another. And this here also, I wanted to tell you that when we talk about channeling, I believe God works through people. I believe he works through individuals and comes to us, it may sound weird because, like I said, I was telling the doctors this, but to me, I really don't care, because there's movies out there, there's stories out there, there's you out there now that's trying to let people believe now, because it does happen. There's me letting you know that it did happen. Because during this wreck, I actually went from one side of I-10 to the other, flipped my car, left the front end on facing east. I left my front end, my tires facing east, and I was my whole car was actually on the other side facing west when I was done, sideways. And during that wreck, I got out, handcuffed, getting ready to go to jail. A police officer pulled up, came out, talked to me, talked to the other cops, told the other cops to unhandcuff him. I'm taking him home. I was all like, what? And he says, yeah, I'm a great believer in God, and for some reason you're still here. And I was all like, are you serious? And he was like, yeah, I'm taking you home, man. You mean you're telling me that you went from over there, those are your tires over there, and this is your car, and you're still right here? And I was like, yeah. No, I'm taking you home. So then he actually called my father and told my father, your son is, he has, because my ankles actually were broke. I didn't know that they were broke because I was just, I was so adrenaline up and, everything else. And, he told my dad he needs to go, plus my nose at this time was actually, split too. And that was, it wasn't broken as much as what happened to the third one, I'm going to tell you. But after this happened, he called my dad and told my dad that, your son is around for some reason. He should have died. And, he should go to jail and everything. And I'm not taking him to jail. I'm bringing him home because for some reason he's here. And my dad's still around. He can witness this also because, he was told that. And
yeah, well, it does sound like you had not only a kindly cop, but you also had a very kindly guardian angel who was able to save your life in that wreck.
That's what I believe. That's what I believe when I say channeling, and God working through people, because that was an angel to me. That was an angel, and then I changed my life again. I started doing good again and started going on the right path. I started writing poetry during that year also. And then I fell off the track again. And when I fell off the track, and actually when I started doing good, it was my second blessing is when I met my better half. And for 20 years, I was doing good. 20 years, I was doing real good. Then my kids, which I raised, she had 3 sons. And like I said, I believe that it was a blessing to me. So, I changed my life. And for 20 years, I did right. I did good. I did everything that was, possible. And the kids got older and started testing me and started hearing how I was, started trying to go that way. I started begging them not to go that way. They chose to. Then I slipped. I messed up. And then again, this is when I had my third accident. And the third accident truly woke me up because this one, I actually wrecked into 3 poles. I ran off the road. Went into 3 poles. When I went into 3 poles, my car was smashed. You have a picture of my car. My face was smashed. My leg was smashed. I was bleeding out my leg. The guy that called the cops, because it was right by an airport, the guy that calls the police officer in the ambulance and everything said that he thought a train wreck, had happened. That was me smashing into those 3 cars. I mean, not 3 cars, 3 poles. And lo and behold, when I was out, I was out. Because I can't remember. I was out. But an officer also there told my better half that I was talking to him. He couldn't believe that I was talking to him. My face was rearranged. He saw my face. It was actually caved in. They said, get a light bulb, drop it on the ground. That's how many fractures I have to work with, Mr. Espinoza. and my better half was like, please fix him, please. When I got to the hospital, of course. But that's how smacked my face was. So when I was talking to this officer, he couldn't believe I was talking to him. He was like, this guy was talking to me, telling me everything he wanted me to do. It was actually on Father's Day, I think it was Father's Day weekend. Happened on June 11th, 2013. No, June 16th, 2011.
Yeah, that would be closer to Father's Day. Well, and also they threatened to take your leg off, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, man. And then again, let me go back to you. If you believe in God, you have to believe in the devil. And this guy that was in the when I was being healed, and everything, they got me to the hospital. They saved me. They were doing good. They promised to save my leg and everything. And then they got me into the operating room, and lo and behold, this guy, doctor, comes out and looks over me and says, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "I'm doing good, man, He's like, "Well, they talked to you about your leg?" And I said, "Yeah, y'all going to save it." Laughed at me. And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yes, that leg is no good. We need to cut that leg off." And I was like, "What? Y'all going to save my leg?" No. Your leg is no good. You need to go ahead and let me take your leg now. Because if you don't let me take your leg now, you'll be back in a couple of years, and I'll take it then. And by then, you'll lose your wife, you'll lose your house, you'll lose your car, you'll lose everything. Why don't you just go ahead and let me take your leg now? I wiggled my toes, and I was like, dude, I can wiggle my toes, man. No, you don't realize. Are you telling me that other doctors didn't tell you about this? Didn't tell you that your leg is that bad? And I said, man, get out of here. Just please get out of here. And then again, here comes my angel. She came in, and she was there, and she was like, what's going on? And I was crying to her, and I said, this guy is telling me he's going to take my leg off. And she was like, what? What are you telling him? She was another doctor, another plastic surgeon. And she was like, you need to get out of here. You need, what you need, you need to go. And then she told me, she goes, look, Paul, I'll do everything I can to save your leg. Don't worry. We are going to save your leg. Wow. Made me feel good. I went down. They operated. I woke up. My leg was still on me. They told me it was going to take like 16. That doctor was going to take so many hours. And I think he just didn't want to work on me. He didn't want to work on me because. Well,
he sounded like he didn't want to put the work in. But this is your life he's talking about.
Oh yes, that's what I'm saying. To me, it's like that was the devil, man. Because it's just the way he was talking to me. Because that's not only the first. That wasn't the first. That was his first time that he tried to stop my recovery. That was his first time. But my faith kept me going because after this wreck, I believed that. I said, man, for some reason I am here, and I know what I heard a long time ago, and I know that I am here for a reason, and ain't no way anybody gonna stop me. Ain't no way.
Well, and it seems like from what you've told me that at least one of those reasons is to be writing the spiritual poetry that you're writing and doing things like going to funerals and reciting poetry. People have invited you, right?
Yeah, yes. They've asked me. They know I wrote poems. They heard what had been writing, and they were like, "Do you think you can write a poem for my father? Which was my uncle. He passed away, and this is where it comes to where I find out about my great grandmother are writing poetry, and then my grandfather writing poetry, and I was like, what? Wow.
Tell us a little about that. What do you know about your great grandmother?
My great grandmother. Let me tell you about my great grandmother. My great grandmother, her name is Jacinta. Her name is Jacinta G. Molina. She was the wife of Urbano, who was born in 1890 and died October 1985, which the year my daughter was born, which is a blessing to me. She became a U.S. citizen on September 1985. I even have her certificate number. And
wow. So she was a Native American born in Mexico, isn't that right?
Correct. Her mother was, I sent you a picture of her, and her mother was total Indian. I mean, if you saw that picture, she is total Indian. We don't really know what type of Indian. My mom said something, but I really don't. I'm not sure. But I mean, if you look at her, you sit her down next to let's say Geronimo, she looks a lot, she's like a daughter of Geronimo or something. I mean, she's a lot like, we have pictures of it.
Yeah, it's a wonderful photo. We'll probably put that up on the website. Now tell me, how did you find out that she wrote poetry and that I guess you knew your grandfather, you were close to your grandfather. Did he ever read you his poetry?
He did, but he read it in Spanish, which I'm Hispanic, and unfortunately I know a little bit of Spanish. But he would, and some, of course it was mixed, both Spanish and English. But but he was blind. He actually was blind he went blind right before I was born, and right before, right after I was born, he went blind. And when he went blind, he wanted to remember how we looked, and of course a blind person feels a person. And he felt me, and he would touch me and everything, and he gave me the name of Buddha. I never knew why, and I always thought, well, that's a pretty good name, that's like, Buddha, man. Buddha's he's a spiritual dude, he's a god, whatever, but, it just made me, all the time it made me feel good, but my grandfather, he's the guy who actually wrote poetry, like I said, when I found out, he wrote poetry also.
Yeah.
And
so he felt your face, and he called you Buddha, which is really,
he felt my stomach too.
Okay.
My whole body.
So did he think he was really reading? Buddha founded Buddhism. Did he think you were a spiritual being? I mean, is that why he called you that, or did he was it just a nickname he gave you?
No, I couldn't tell you. I think he just, just because I was a little fat, chubby boy, and I guess.
That's it. That's great.
I just think it was a blessing, that he named me that name, because, like I said, it's just everything that's been going through my life, And,
exactly. And also, the little statues of Buddha are often chubby, so I think that's what he was saying.
Yeah. So I think, maybe that's why, I didn't turn out that way.
Well, Paul, you're now perhaps of the mind that the poetry that's coming to you is coming from your grandfather and from your great-grandmother. Yes, because I would sit here, like I said, back then, I would write, but I didn't think nothing of it all back then, wow, where is that coming from? Until now, like I said, when my faith's gotten stronger, my faith, because my leg is still not I ache, Lee, I hurt. They had me on all kinds of pills. They had me on everything, but my faith has gotten stronger. And by sitting here, sometimes I'd look over a picture that my mother gave me, who was Beatrice Molina Espinoza, and she gave me this picture of my grandparents and my great grandmother, and I'd sit here and I'd look at it, and and then like all of a sudden I just feel something, and it's weird, it's hard to say, because it's like like music would just come, like a melody would come, and or something would come to me, and so that's where like this is one poem that came to me, and it's like I titled it "Living Life Blessed," and I titled it because I'm glad to be living life, living life blessed. Well, this is how it goes. It's living life blessed. I bet you never guessed that I would even live this long or even wrote this song, but I'm here writing it just for you. It's what I was blessed to do. It's been keeping me around just long enough so I could preach his ways and call the devil's bluff. I've had enough of doing wrong, so I hope I can help someone with this song. When you seem broken down, when you think you've had enough, when you just want to quit, stand back up and call the devil's bluff. God is by your side. He's been there all along. He will never give up on you just as long as your faith stays strong. Believe in his words, for they are true. Because God has forgiven me, this is how I stand before you. I don't know why, I just know it was meant to be. So I'm living life blessed. God walks beside me. I actually wrote that Thursday, the 9th, April 2015, probably about 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Read something else. Perhaps, do you have the tribute to your uncle that you read at the funeral?
Yeah. Actually, I went and gave this to my second cousin, which is my mom's cousin, which is the one who told me about You know, he says, wow, you know, what you read, it reminds me of my grandmother when she would read to me. You know, she would read to him in Spanish, and what she would read to him, she goes, he told me, he's not sure if it was like, you know, poetry or hymns or what, but it was just so beautiful. And then I said, well, my mother said she write poetry, and he goes, I thought it was, you know, so, but here's one that I wrote for the, you know, like I wrote this, and I gave it in love and memory of them, you know, because I wrote this a while back, but I recited this I gave this to them. Let me go ahead and read this to you. It goes,
okay.
Missing you. It's been a while since you've been gone. We still don't understand it or what went wrong, but God called you back home on that glorious day, and it's not our job to question it. It's just God's way. But we would like you to know that you are missed. We miss your smile, laughter, and your loving way. We miss being hugged by you every day. But God had a plan and called you back home. We know it was never your intent to leave us alone. So we will wait until that day when we meet again, because we know you'll be standing at the gates of heaven to welcome us in. That was another.
Very nice.
Thank you.
You know, as a chaplain, I do funeral services, and I often try to mention my experience of NDEs or someone else's experience of NDEs, because it's so reassuring to people to hear from someone who's seen the other side and knows that it's there and knows that our lives are eternal. And so it's wonderful material for funerals. And I think you're the only other person that I've talked to, at least on the show, who is now getting involved in funerals. And if you share your experience, your NDE experience, as part of that, it'll be much appreciated.
Yeah. I appreciate you calling me and having me do what I'm doing, on this radio show right now, because, like I said, that was another poem that came to me, and I mean, I'm not a singer or nothing like that, but that's what came to me. But look, let me go back to another one that I wrote. Another uncle passed away, actually, and
okay, we have time for one more, I think.
Okay, let me read you this one. This is called Farewell. It goes, okay. It's a cold and somber day that we had to meet this way. We've come to bid farewell because we know that you are doing well. You've gone back home to rest like the sun goes down in the west. But unlike the sun, you will not rise again on earth, because in the heavens God has given birth. He has added another angel by his side, and we will hold strong because we know this is not goodbye. We will see you once again one day, but for now we meet this way. So again we bid farewell because the heavens are ringing their bells.
Thank you, Paul. Well, we're out of time. I think we'll have to bid farewell, at least to the audience for now. But thank you, Paul Espinoza, for telling us about your NDE and your fight to recover from your injuries and the blessings of spiritual inspiration and poetic writings from the other side. If the audience would like to listen again to this or any of our past shows, just go to our website at nderadio.org. And for more information about the work of IANDS, check out their website, iands.org. And tune in next Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern, for more NDE Radio. This is Lee Witting saying thanks for listening.